There are pains that cannot be named, tears that fall in silence, and stories that, when told, are not mere entertainment, but become a deep, lingering incision upon the recipient's soul. The past of Bartholomew KUMA, the man nicknamed Tyrant, yet bearing a shattered heart, is precisely such a threnody. As the veil of secrecy gradually lifted through the frames of one piece, it not only exposed the misfortune-laden life of a character, but also ignited an intense wave of emotion, a silent debate within each viewer's heart. Who suffered more? And can pain even be measured or compared? The KUMA versus Robin debate and comparisons with other characters are not just a test of compassion, but also a reflection of how we, the viewers, confront and empathize with different shades of tragedy. For KUMA, it was not a singular pain, a fleeting, tragic event, but a long chain of continuous misfortunes, a compression and escalation of suffering that spanned his entire life like an inescapable, cruel destiny. Try for a moment to close your eyes and imagine. An innocent child forced to witness his father's brutal murder, red blood staining the entire canvas of his childhood. That pain, that horrific psychological shock, was merely the beginning of dark days. The humiliating life of a slave befell him, trampling upon his tender dignity, turning young KUMA into a tool, a plaything in the hands of inhumane powers. The welts from the whip, seared deep into his flesh, perhaps did not hurt as much as the wounds of the heart, as the loss of faith in justice, in humanity. Even when he gained a fragile modicum of freedom, KUMA did not choose a peaceful life for himself. He silently shouldered the pain of an entire people, sacrificing in secret, like a solitary giant bearing the weight of the world. Love, which seemed like a light at the end of the tunnel, also quickly extinguished in tragedy. Ginny, the woman he loved, was taken, endured horrific things, and then died in his arms. The pain of losing his beloved, the helplessness of being unable to protect the one he cherished, must have torn the man's heart into 100,000 pieces. And then tragedy continued to haunt him, this time as the pain of a father. Bonnie, the fruit of his love, carried a terminal illness, her life like a flickering candle flame in the wind. This father, who had already endured so much loss, now faced the risk of losing his most precious thing. To save his child, KUMA accepted the ultimate sacrifice, relinquishing his will, his memories, and finally, his very soul, becoming a loyal dog of the world government, a mindless machine. That was not just sacrifice, it was self-destruction, the tragedy of losing one's own self. Even when his paternal instincts surged, compelling him to save his daughter in her final moments, he could not escape the manipulative hands of the one who had pushed his life into a quagmire of tragedy. KUMA's death, within the confines of control and helplessness, was a haunting end to a life filled only with loss and sacrifice, a life where happiness was but a fleeting, fragile, and distant illusion. The anime's introduction of him as the most suffering person, perhaps, is still insufficient to describe the extreme anguish KUMA had to bear. Alongside this, Robin's story, with a childhood rife with isolation, fear, and constant betrayal, is also a sad epic. Losing her homeland, her only loved ones, and being hunted by the entire world simply for possessing forbidden knowledge, Robin had to be incredibly strong to survive. The pain of solitude, of being unable to trust anyone, was deeply etched into her young soul. However, the difference perhaps lies in the outcome. As of now, Robin found her nakama, found a family, a place to belong, a glimmer of hope for the future. It is this that makes some viewers feel that Robin's suffering in her early stages, though incredibly condensed and desperate, still had an escape, a salvation that KUMA seemingly never found. Comparisons with characters like Naruto or Sasuke further clarify the diversity of tragedy. The pain of being an orphan and ostracized, the pain of witnessing a family massacre at the hands of a loved one, each story carries its own distinct shade. But when one looks back at KUMA's life, one sees a synthesis of many forms of suffering, an accumulation of misfortunes that few can imagine. And then, as those frames touched the audience's hearts, a wave of emotion erupted. Crying, angry, haunted, pity, guilt. These simple words contained an ocean of empathy. KUMA's past was not just the story of an animated character, it touched upon the most profound human values: paternal love, romantic love, sacrifice, and the unceasing pain of loss. It makes one realize that sometimes fictional stories have the power to reflect reality with a cruelty and truthfulness that is startling. The outrage of the online community was not limited to pity for KUMA. It was directed squarely at those who caused the tragedy, the celestial dragons and the world government. The comments demanding the extermination of all celestial dragons, a massacre, were not just outbursts of anger, but cries for justice, a rebellion against oppression and injustice. The parallel drawn with the enslavement of black people shows that the audience perceived the profound social messages embedded by Oda, that cruelty and discrimination have always been stains on human history. Even characters with high expectations like Dragon did not escape disappointment and criticism from a segment of viewers. His silence in the face of KUMA's and his family's tragedies raised questions about the role and responsibility of a revolutionary leader. This demonstrates the deep emotional investment of the audience. They do not just watch, but also reflect, analyze, and set moral standards for each character. The peripheral comments, from tagging friends to share the sorrow to humorous remarks to lighten the mood, or predictions about the story's future, all show that One Piece has created a strong, cohesive community. It is not just a work of entertainment, but also a space for people to connect, share, and experience a spectrum of emotions together. KUMA's story, though painful, has also become an invisible thread, Jinyibu tightening the bond among those who loved this series. Ultimately, the discussion about KUMA's past is more than just fleeting comments. It is a testament to Oda's extraordinary character-building talent, creating a KUMA who, though not a main character, has the power to move millions of hearts. It affirms the power of tragic storytelling, as stories of loss and sacrifice always have the ability to connect with people on the deepest emotional levels. And above all, it shows a passionate One Piece fan base, not just consuming content, but actively analyzing, debating, and empathizing. The scar named KUMA will likely ache for a long time in the hearts of the audience. His pain, his sacrifice, and the silent cry of a tyrant will continue to resonate, reminding us of the dark corners of life, the cruelty of injustice, and the immeasurable value of love and compassion. It is a tragedy that transcends the screen, touches the very core of pain, and leaves an indelible mark.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to the latest update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end, and see you in the next video.